Go with glow, go with glow, go with glow. Go with glow, go with glow, go with glow.
Hey everybody, it's Gloria Ortiz with Real People Realty, or some of you may know me as Glow, as in hashtag Go with Glow. And today's Glow chat is going to be about estate planning, why it is so important, right? So I am here with attorney Belford Archivala, who also, he's a real estate attorney, but he also does estate planning. And I wanted to do this video because so many clients think that if they have a will, whether an attorney did it or if they write something down on a piece of paper, that they're good to go, but that's really not the case. So if something happens to you and your heirs think that they can come in and automatically take over the property, that's not how it works. Property needs to be in a trust. You want to avoid going to probate, which cost for you to be in probate, and it's also takes time. So that means that you wouldn't be able to do anything with that property because you need to finish your probate. So I'm going to turn it over to Belford, who's going to tell us really what is estate planning, and should we be putting our house in trust? What is the best way we can avoid having our heirs have to deal with stuff after we're gone? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Belford. I appreciate it because this is like
Absolutely.
important information.
Yeah, absolutely. Estate planning. Big topic, really.
Okay.
Um, what is it? It's planning for your future. It's planning for what happens in moments of incapacity. We have powers of attorneys for that.
Mhm.
But also, more importantly, it's about planning for what happens after we're no longer here. After we pass, how do we
Okay.
want to handle our assets? How do we want to protect those assets? Give it to our kids, give it to our spouses, give it to our families, to our heirs. Um, it's a very important conversation to have. It's sometimes a little bit of a touchy subject. A lot of people don't
Right.
like to talk
Right.
about
We
it,
want to
but
talk
it's a
about
very
it.
important subject to talk about because you've worked so hard your entire life. You've made a big living. You've created assets. You've bought your home. You have your accounts. You have your other assets. Um, Good to plan what to do with it afterwards. You don't want to leave it to Uncle Sam. So definitely good to have some kind of plan in place to make sure that you want to distribute those assets accordingly to whatever your wishes are. Because estate planning is also very personalized.
Hmm.
So whatever you want, however you want to distribute your assets, we want to make sure that we have that on paper and legal.
Well, because sometimes maybe somebody's not leaving anything to their children
Yeah.
or their nieces or nephews. Maybe they want to donate it to a church or something. So this too is important. It would be all in your estate planning. What I've come across so many times over, and I try to explain that that's not the case. Adult children think that if something happens to their parents and there's a mortgage on the home, that they can just continue to make the payment and the house is paid for and it's just theirs. And that's not how it works.
Right. No, it's not. It'd be nice if that were the case, but
Yeah.
so generally the way it works is you got to look at first who's on title. Who's on
Mm-hmm.
title to the property? Um, that person is in life the owner. When they pass, it doesn't automatically go to their spouse or their kids. There are rules in called intestate laws,
Mm-hmm.
which are the default rules. Who takes assets after your passing? And so generally here in Illinois, it's half the spouse, half the kids, but you do have to go through probate for that. And so you can imagine a situation where someone wants to leave a property to just maybe one person.
Mm-hmm.
Under these default rules, you couldn't really do that. So you want to make sure you want to get everything on paper. You want to make sure you give direction as to how you want your assets to be distributed, especially so these default rules don't necessarily apply to you.
And here's the thing. If somebody passes, like for instance, I don't have children, my heirs are going to be my nieces and nephew. But they're already mourning their loved one who has passed on. They may even be involved in the planning of their funeral, right? The last thing you want to do is have to go back to court, pay an attorney because it's not free
Right.
to go through probate, right? So that takes time. So let's say that you are the heir and you want to sell it or you want to rent it or it's not your property to do so. So now you have to wait until everything's over with probate. And that doesn't just take 2 weeks. That takes some time, and plus it's going to cost you money. So now your loved one's gone. They thought they did right. They left you the property because they wrote something down, they signed it, and they notarized it. And that's another thing. That's not the same thing as a will. For you to write something down and just notarize it, like I want my property to go to Belford when something happens to me. Thank you, Gloria, and I notarize it. That's not how it goes, because then I do have a husband and I do have nieces and nephews. And now they may come against you to say, no, that's not the case. Like, I'm her husband or I'm this. So now you're spending money and going to court. You just want to avoid all that,
You
right?
do.
And one of the best ways to avoid that is to put your property in trust.
That's true. That's true. So now we're getting to the conversations as to wills versus trust. So wills historically have been a great tool, great way to distribute your assets. But what a lot of people don't know, and you touched on this, Gloria, is even wills go through probate.
Mhm.
A will is, think about it, a letter that you're giving to the judge when this case goes through probate, of how you want to distribute your assets.
Mhm.
And it's going to get probated. It's public record, so people will be able to see like what you wanted in your will. But does have to go through probate, so that can take months. Typically, right now in Illinois, I want to say standard will is taking months to finalize. And that's even if you do have a will. So, I mean, like you said, if you have your loved ones, you're getting your properties tied up in court for months, and you certainly don't want that. So, one way to avoid the probate scenario is to do a trust. So, a trust, it's a legal instrument by which the trust itself holds the assets. So think about it this way: during your life, you hold all your assets in your individual capacity.
Mhm.
I'm Gloria. I hold this property in my individual capacity as a person. Upon your passing, that because you're an individual, that goes through the state. Your estate has to get probated to distribute it. When you're assigning it to a trust, you're putting your property in the trust. Now the trust owns the real estate, and so during your lifetime, you will control the property because you are the trustee. You are the person that created your own trust. You control everything.
Mhm.
But one of the items is that you do in your trust instrument list someone who's going to be the successor trustee.
Mhm.
So that's the person that's going to step into your shoes where you're no longer here, to manage those assets for your beneficiaries. So because it creates this legal trust can live on beyond the normal life of a person.
Mhm.
It's why you can avoid the probate, because you're giving someone else an interest to manage those assets for your benefit when the person is no longer here.
And I got to tell you, I've closed a couple of deals where that was the case, where the person had a trust, and it was like smooth like butter.
Yeah.
You just have to provide the trust paperwork that you're the successor, and everything's good. I've also been privy to some deals where that's not the case, and it's months and months and months, and you're spending money on probate, and there's nothing you can do with the property. So it's going to cost you money, right, to put your property in a trust, but it's not going to be nowhere. It's worth it to do it, to save the headache and the cost and time later. One last thing that I wanted to ask you, even though it's not about property, is having a power of attorney for healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's so important because I also have it. My husband has it. If something happened to us, we were together, and something happened to us. And maybe we're going to be on machines now, we're going to be, or whatever. It gives that person the right to make decisions if you're not able to make decisions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So part of estate planning, you can have a will, you can have a trust, but proper estate planning also includes powers of attorney. What that is you're giving someone, an agent, authority to make decisions for you when you are no longer able to make decisions. You're still alive, still got a beating heart, but for some reason, usually that's moments of incapacity, you cannot make those decisions on your own. So in the healthcare realm, it's probably the example makes the most sense, where probably you're in some kind of a coma, maybe some kind of vegetative state. You want to make sure that you have your wishes, for at least with respect to how you want your healthcare administered. You want to give that authority to someone who can do best by what you wanted.
It's just really good to have it, right?
Yeah.
I created it more so because my husband already told me that no matter what state I'm in, that he would not be able to pull the plug. And I, for one, don't want to live in a vegetable state or a machine's keeping me alive. Like, if I have no quality of life, I would just prefer to just transition on. And he already told me I'm not going to be able to. So I had to put someone else to make that decision, because he already said that he wouldn't be able to make it. So that might be another situation that you may be in too, where your loved one is saying, I'm not going to be able to do it. So, put somebody else, because I know I'm not going to be able to do it. really they're just documents that are going to save you so much more time and grief when that time comes, because eventually we are going to transition on, every single one of us, and it just makes it a lot easier on your loved ones who are left behind to kind of pick up the pieces and deal with everything.
Exactly. And it's not just healthcare. There's also a power of attorney for property. So you can also imagine, okay, you're going to have someone now who's going to make decisions for yourself with respect to healthcare. What about your bank accounts? What about your home? What about just your assets, your personal, your financials? So there's also a power of attorney that you can give someone authority to act on your behalf if similar to the situation, if you're in some kind of moments of incapacity, who can take care of your finances for you.
And that's such a good point, Belford, because I think a lot of people don't know that they can put someone on their bank account.
Yeah.
So not on there where they can withdraw money, but if something happens to you, what is it called?
I think you're talking about the POD designation, payable upon death.
Yes, the POD designation,
Yeah.
where they can, again, I know people who've passed away, they didn't have that, and the bank does not allow their family members to take the money out. It's got to go through probate, and it's a big mess. But if you have that POD,
payable upon death.
Yes, then they're able to get access to the funds that are in there.
Yeah, that's very good advice. It's very good, free advice here with Gloria. If you have a bank account, maybe you don't want to put someone on your bank account as a joint account holder, because as a joint account holder, they can go in there today and deplete your funds.
Whatever.
Exactly. You don't want that. So one of the things you may want to do instead is put someone as a POD, payable on death.
Which is free to do.
Free to do. It's a beneficiary. It's a form that you do at your bank. You're just putting someone as, I'm no longer here. This person can come, bring my death certificate that shows that I'm no longer alive, but can have access to those funds.
All right. I hope this information helped someone out there. If it wasn't you, maybe it's somebody that you know that it would help. If you'd like any more information, my contact information is on this page. I can also put you in direct contact with Belford. Like I said, he, besides an estate attorney, he's also a real estate attorney, also bilingual. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, and I'll catch you on the next Glow Chat. Thank you.
Bye.
Go with Glow.